My name is Brett Harris, and you're listening to the GangboX podcast.
Welcome to the GangboX podcast, episode 17.
17.
All things Vegas, all things construction, all things union. We are honored to have our guest, Nevada Labor Commissioner Brett Harris. How you feeling?
It's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
We've been working on this for a while. You're very busy. We're very busy. I'm glad our schedules are finally able to align and we can get you on here. And so why don't you start off a little bit by telling us who you are, what you do, and then we'll kind of get into the details of what your job is and kind of how you cover that.
Sure. Well, my name is Brett Harris. I'm the Nevada Labor Commissioner. The Labor Commissioner's office is housed under the Department of Business and Industry for the state. So that's sort of where we live. We handle wage and hour law at the regulatory level, so pre-court, and public works compliance, which is prevailing wage and certified payroll reporting compliance on public works construction projects. We also enforce the Apprenticeship Utilization Act. We have some licensing responsibilities. I call us the little agency that could. We had over 8,000 unique matters that came through our office last year. And we have, when full now, 31, but we won't even have those people till next year. So we do a lot. We are the people you come to if you didn't get paid by your employer, if your employer took money from you that they shouldn't have, if they didn't pay you enough, if they didn't pay you on time, if they didn't pay your health care like they were supposed to, if they misclassified you. We have so many statutes. I can tell you there are some that I've never looked at myself, but we do, I think, a pretty good job of making sure that we investigate as many of those as we can, and we get people. What I prioritize in my office is getting people their money. So
8,000 cases, you said, roughly?
Over 8,000 unique matters. Okay. So that means that ends up being about 5,500 unique wage claims.
Oh, Jesus. Sorry. It's the first time that's ever happened. I'd like to note that, please.
You're
first
good.
Time I had a sneeze on the podcast.
Seasonal allergies.
That was gross.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
That's staying too. We are not cutting that.
Way harsh, Ty.
Yeah.
About 5,500 regular wage and hour claims. And that has been up about for the last, I would say, year, 18 months. And then we have probably about another 1,000 general complaints, so issues that don't involve money. And then we get into public works compliance, and the state of Nevada has well over 1,000 active public works projects at any given time. I think we ran the numbers right now. We have over $4 billion in active public works projects. That are going right now across the state. So there's a lot of money going into those projects. And then we regulate them in terms of our office is where you get a number that identifies what the project is, how much it's worth, who's working on it. And we keep all of that, what stage it's in, until it gets closed out. So in those 8,000 plus matters, I count issuing those numbers and regulating that database because we have to stay on top of that too.
So, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, apprentice utilization, wage theft, certified payroll, right? Compliance stuff. So, all of these things, and then when people aren't following the law, that Nevada state law says you have to pay X, you have to do Y, you have to have so many apprentices on a job, and those rules are broken, people file complaints to you, right? And out of, I don't know, let's just say all of them, 10,000, give or take 8,000 in whole cases or complaints, I guess would be the best way to say it, complaints. Yep. How many of those come from unions? So percentage-wise, if you don't mind.
Yeah, on the public works side, nearly all of them. A very large majority come from what we would call third-party compliance filings, which are almost always, if not exclusively, union or union-sponsored. And what we have tried, what one of our efforts was in the last legislative session, because we want the awarding bodies to be the ones spotting compliance issues on their projects, because these are their projects, right? It's not my project. I don't hire the contractors. I don't review the certified payroll reporting every month. That's not the Office of the Labor Commissioner. That is whoever is running the project for their jurisdiction.
And when you say awarding bodies, you mean like the school district, the city of Henderson, the city, right?
Exactly. State Public Works, the counties, the Department
counties in hot water. We won't touch that right now, but
That's crazy, huh? We should talk about that. We should do a whole episode on that.
we will next.
Let's bring that guy on.
No.
Okay.
He already has a new job. I did Google that yesterday.
He's working for the company that he was given all the sweetheart deals to.
Well, it's his wife's company.
Right.
So, but yes, so we're trying to empower the public bodies to spot problems before the third-party compliance groups do, so that because they are the ones that should be seeing it first.
And so for a lot of our members, I know a lot of the things that you just listed off, they call us, right? When they're not paid correctly or things are happening, right? So someone who's in our industry, the non-union, construction workers or whoever, they don't really have a union to go to. So they would go to you, right? I mean, that's what the only other recourse they would have.
No, well, they would come to us.
Right. They'd go to you because they don't have a union. But is the general public, do they know that they can come to you?
Yeah, I love that question because so I've been in this job for almost 4 years now.
Yeah, we got elected about the same time.
Yeah,
But you're appointed.
Appointed,
Yes.
yes. Although, very funnily, some guy did stomp into my office one day and demand to speak with Mr. Harris, who he voted for, about his money.
Yeah. Mr. Harris.
Yeah.
Where's Brett?
Yep.
Where is that dude?
I voted for him.
Yeah.
So I feel comfortable saying now because I have spent all the time in these statutes. I didn't know what this job was when it was first, when I was approached about it. I was in the Employee Management Relations Board, which does disputes between state workers under collective bargaining agreements, and it's also under the Department of Business and Industry when this job became available. And so someone came to me and was like, would you be interested in doing this over here? We hear you're doing a good job over there. And I said, what is that? Because I'm a lawyer and I didn't know that you have this access to this regulatory body, which moves much faster than a court, right? So we talk about in my office a 90 and 90-day rate, which is the amount of claims that we aim to close 90% of our claims within 90 days, especially wage and hour, because you're talking about sometimes minimum wage, sometimes the difference between somebody eating and not, rent and not, power on and not. And we do pretty good at 90 is hard. We haven't hit 90 since I've been here, but we hit 85. We hit 83. And that's a number to be proud of. But I think outreach is really important. It's something that I'm trying to focus on, especially on the regular side. You guys do a really good job of making sure your members know that we exist and making you take them, through their collective bargaining agreement outlet and all of the avenues that they're permitted, like through the agreement. And then if you can't resolve it there, you bring it to us. Or if it's a prevailing wage, it just comes to us. But other people don't know. And so we're really trying to work on the outreach piece so that regular people do know. Because it's not just construction workers, non-union. It's across industries. And Nevada is pretty cool and unique in that we can enforce the wage that you were promised, not just minimum wage. We enforce the wage that is the historical relationship between you and your employer. So if you prove that you were getting paid $50 an hour, we will enforce $50 an hour. That is different than the federal government, who often can only enforce $7.25 an hour.
Right.
And another thing, we take individual cases. We take nothing but individual claims for the most part, which means that any individual person who was employed who has wages owed to them and they're not getting them can come to us and seek relief. Whereas other, bigger agencies, they sometimes can only take on industry-wide investigations.
Right.
So
No, go ahead.
So wage theft, right? Like, I'll give an example. It happens in the union and non-union side of things. I think a lot of people forget. Even the apprenticeship utilization. So sometimes the union signatory contractor will have apprentices. They'll have too many apprentices. So I remember once, they had to pay the highest ranking apprentice journeyman wages to offset, because the payroll when they did the certified payroll, it didn't match. So somebody from your office or someone contacted a certain contractor and was like, hey, you owe this guy money because you have too many apprentices on the project, which is, I think, not okay.
Well, wouldn't there be an issue with the ratios?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But some contractors don't give a shit. So, like, not all bad actors are non-union, right? And so even some of the general contractors or just subs or whoever sometimes will hire one craft to do another. They don't know that they're supposed to be getting paid more for doing that jurisdiction of work. And so a lot of times some unions will get mad at each other, like, hey, your guy's stealing X. It's like, that guy's just doing what his boss told him to do. First, you have to understand that. And not everyone's like, oh, I'm a union man, I'm not going to do that. Some people are scared for their jobs. Like, even on the union side, workers are still very scared today. You know what I mean? And I think some people forget that. So a lot of people don't even know. They see how much they're making, but they don't understand on a public works project, right? And a public works project is pretty much any project with taxpayer dollars. And we say this for the members, right? Because they don't always know. So if you're working on a project that is a public work project, you're supposed to be making a certain amount of money and a certain amount of apprentices. And so there's rules. And what's the biggest claim that someone has turned into you that they were successful with when it comes to wage theft?
Oh, I mean, we've resolved hundreds of thousands of dollars at a time.
Is there one that sticks out the most that was like one case that was just a massive amount of money of wage theft?
So when we have like gigantic audits like that, what's normally happened is we've either identified one and we've put the business in self-audit where they've had to audit everybody and now we have to make up for everybody. Sometimes it is a self-audited, self-reported by the business. That's the best case scenario, right? Like the business found a problem, they come to us, they say to me, how do I fix this?
Yeah.
And I say, that's great, let's just fix this.
Yeah.
And people get surprise checks that they didn't even know that they were getting. I mean, we've resolved hundreds of thousands of dollars in individual business audits. But if you're talking about like penalties and stuff, the Apprenticeship Utilization Act has generated more than $1 million in penalties just this season.
Damn.
And I haven't seen anyone yet. So that means just my chief investigator and her team resolving either people that did not turn in a thing,
Right.
because they now owe us $10,000, and the amount of people that just write $10,000 checks.
It's nothing. It's nothing.
So how many times do you get to break the law before it becomes criminal?
I mean, that's really up to a prosecuting body that has the jurisdiction to pursue those cases. And I think they're hard because, civil law has going to get real lawyerly.
Yeah, please.
A very low standard of proof. It's called a preponderance of the evidence, which means that you only have to tilt the scale one little tick one way, and that's a preponderance of the evidence. It just means more likely than not. But in criminal law, you need to show beyond a reasonable doubt. And often in criminal law, there's like an intent-based element that you have to prove. And that can be hard because it's hard to climb into somebody's brain. Not that you can't prove intent just by actions. That's very possible. You don't need somebody saying, I meant to do this.
Right. Because they're always going to say it was an accident. I don't know. My payroll lady didn't do it. We didn't know about this. We didn't know about that. Right? That's always the claim.
Well, you'd have a lot of reasonable doubt built in there too, right? Yeah. And in a business, and one thing I've tried to do as the labor commissioner that I've changed is allowing my investigators to go after successive businesses when it's the same individual. And that's because the Nevada law says that an employer is an individual that is responsible. It doesn't say anything about the business entity itself. So while it is much harder to go after someone once the business entity ceases to exist, if they have, and we've seen this, essentially closed this business to open this business and does the same thing, we're now going after successive employers for claims from the businesses that they're closing down in an effort to avoid paying wages. And another thing that we're tracking is the number of claims we get off of employees that are terminated or fired versus quit or resigned, because we're seeing shifts in trends there too.
What's like some of the most common violations that you see from employers? Like, what is it that they're doing the most?
Not paying their final checks. It's 100%
the time that it's due.
And it's the last one.
Right.
Sorry for clapping near
you're okay.
near the. It's always the last one. There's usually they took their stapler.
Yeah.
Right.
They didn't ask me, which our law does require you to request the wages, so that is legitimate, even though you shouldn't have to, because they are due on their regular time if they quit, or within 7 days, or immediately / within 3 days if they're fired. So, but without question, it is final paychecks.
Yeah. So, I mean, we, in most of our collective bargaining agreements, we mirror, we put language in there that mirrors the statute, right? So, layoff is payoff is what we always say. Layoff is payoff. You must be paid. Now, our contract that we have says it's due and payable today. There is no grace period. Now, some of our in-house units will have like language that just references the NRS. So they know that. And so they know they got 3 days. And it's like, no, well, it's due immediately. That's what it says. You have a 3-day grace period. So sometimes they'll go 4 days and they go, all right, well, we owe them 1 day of waiting time. It's like, well, no, you owe them 4. And they're like, well, no, we had 3 days. It's like, well, you have to pay them from the moment that it was due. It was due immediately. You got a 3-day grace period. I argue with corporations like Caesar's Palace and MGM about this constantly because they just don't care. Because it doesn't matter to them to pay a day or two, and they argue. And I talked to you once. They're like, "Well, we don't owe it immediately because it wasn't a discharge." And I'm like, "Well, what do you mean it wasn't a discharge?" We're like, "Well, we just separated employment." And I'm like, I could choke you through this phone right now. Like, it is so frustrating that you're going to try to argue with me that a discharge and a separation are two different things because the words aren't the exact same.
Well, the legislature added non-working status. Wasn't that in 2023?
Yep.
And the language started at layoff. And I was like, great, layoff is great. And when they changed it to non-working status, I was like, why are they changing it to non-working status? You just explained why.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's no cover anymore. If you are put on non-working status, it's due immediately.
So then is your office issuing a lot of waiting time penalty determinations?
Yes. Yeah. And another push that we have done, because one thing that happened, when I came in, it was like that post-COVID, everyone was understaffed. I think the whole state was down a quarter of its employees or something like that. And the OLC was certainly no better off. I think they were 22 when full, and they might have had 16 when I went in there. So for a long time, it was like, settle them and move them, settle them and move them. Right. But that does a disservice to the penalty portion. It does it not only to the state, where we can assess $5,000 of a penalty that goes to the state per violation, but in the penalty that actually goes to the claimant, which is the waiting time, because Nevada law allows up to us to award up to 30 days at the regular rate of pay, right?
Does that include weekends or days not regularly scheduled?
We generally take it whatever their regular hourly schedule would have been. So if they were a 40-hour-a-week worker,
right,
we'll give them the prorated for the month, 30 days.
I would argue that they're still waiting for their money, though.
On the weekends?
Yeah. Like I've had employers said before, like, all right, well, I'm trying to negotiate with them to get it done. And it's like, okay, well, they waited all week. Okay, well, we'll pay them for the 3 days, but we're not paying them for the weekend. It's like, yeah, but the penalty is because they're waiting for their money. not because they would have worked it. Like they're waiting for their money, and they had to wait on the weekends. I mean, we negotiate deals with them to try to get it done. But yeah, I always thought, because that's not very clear.
Well, the language says the wages accrue at the regular rate.
Right.
So
Regular rate.
Yeah, which we have interpreted as to go with the amount of time worked.
Yeah.
Traditionally. Same with, for the same reason that we enforce the regular rate and not the minimum wage.
Yeah.
I think it's always an effort to be as fair as possible.
Sure.
But
I'm not as fair as possible.
you're an advocate.
That's what you get paid for. That's what you get paid for.
What?
I've been an advocate before. I get it.
What are some of the biggest mistakes you see from workers when it relates to bringing a good case or knowing what to do? Like, is there something that you see within the workforce themselves that we could educate our members on doing better to kind of help you? Yeah, or the organizers.
Yeah, I think you kind of nailed it in the beginning when you asked about, like, do people even know that we exist? That, to me, that's the biggest hole. And I take responsibility for that too. Like, we need to get out there and educate better. It is hard to reach workers that aren't organized, isn't it? Like that's part of why it works when they do.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to get individuals to see how there is a collective good or a collective benefit. Or it's hard to educate people on what they are entitled to and how to go through it, because those processes are also hard. They take a long time.
Yeah.
They're deeply unsatisfying.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you don't come to set everyone's expectations. You won't come to our office and, like, we're not going to gossip with you about how your employer was such a bad guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We're trying to figure out bare bones under the law
Are you owed anything?
Are you owed? What laws apply to this?
It's like filing a grievance. The same fucking thing.
It's the same thing. Like, I had a member call me once, and he's like, "Hey, my son works at Burlington Coat Factory," and I said, "Oh, okay." And he's like, "Bro, they make him work overtime, and they don't pay him for it." And I'm like, "That's crazy. You should file a complaint with the labor commissioner," And I have to go to the website. There's a form you can fill out, like, start there,
Yep.
But he didn't know what to do. He called his union rep because he's like, this can't be right. My oldest daughter, 19, she started getting jobs, right? Started working at, like, Baskin Robbins and these little places. And, she's like, my boss says that if the drawer is wrong, that it's going to come out of my check. And I'm like, oh man, we should have wrapped that motherfucking place with a picket line, And I'm educating her so she knows, like, they cannot screw you over like that. Like, how dare you tell this 16-year-old girl that if her drawer is wrong, that you're going to take it out of her check? It's shocking.
That would be an unauthorized deduction.
Yes.
So you can't, your employer can't, for anyone listening, your employer cannot charge you for anything that you don't agree to, and anything that's not standardized, meaning taxes, healthcare plans, 401ks, anything that's not regular needs an individual authorization per pay period.
So let me ask you this. This is one that's online with that. The employer accidentally overpays you for a week. They catch it and they go, oh shit, we overpaid you. We're going to take it out of your next check.
They have to get your permission.
So as long as you don't sign anything, they don't have your permission. They would have to, then what, right? Because that happens often too. Like, oh, we forgot to do this, or we overpaid the guy. And then they want to take it out of him. And I tell the employer, no, you can't do that. You are not taking it from him. That is your mistake.
The employer, the employer doesn't have recourse through us the way the employee has recourse through us. So that would become a civil matter. If the employer, if the employee was like, I'm not going to agree, the employer in theory could go and sue them in small claims court.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't provide any recourse to the employer for an overpayment. And if the employer took it without authorization, that's an unauthorized deduction. And then the employee would have recourse under our office.
Got this, which falls right into this. First time I ever wrote a little bit of questions because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about with her because I'm not an organizer anymore. But let's do a true or false. Workers could always be fired without reason.
So
Yeah.
That's an it depends.
Yeah. Situational. Is that fair?
For the most part, yes, we are an at-will state. You can be terminated for any reason that is not discriminatory.
Right.
Good. Salary employees could never receive overtime.
False.
Employers could make you work off the clock.
False.
Independent contractors have the same protections as employees.
False.
And verbal agreements count.
Depends.
Got an example of that? That's hard. I know. This is all unscripted.
No, you're good.
Yeah,
No, you're good.
I like it.
It's so like if I'm taking back, oh gosh, my husband's a contract lawyer and he's going to be like, this is so embarrassing. If I'm thinking about like 2L contract law, then there are certain amounts that things have to be in writing. Generally, if you can prove a contract, even verbal, it's especially for our purposes. Again, we're talking about a preponderance of the evidence, more likely than not standard. We'll probably take that.
You know what's there was an episode of Landman where they got into a huge debate over like verbal contracts and shit, which was fucking dope. Obviously, it's not real, it's anything, but great show nonetheless.
Yeah, you learn in early law school about there are certain types of contracts like real estate that have to be in writing,
Right.
and contracts over $75,000. Statute of frauds does not permit evidence of oral contracts over that amount, and I could be saying all of that wrong. So if your lawyer is listening, I'm sure they'll correct me.
Yeah, I think you know one of our lawyers pretty well.
I do.
Yeah.
So if what's the time period? So if someone goes on your website and has a complaint and fills out the form, fills it out, what realistic time frame is someone going to reach out to them? How does that work after they go online? Because it's pretty accessible, your form online. I mean, it's pretty easy to get to. It's pretty easy to fill out. What is the timeline from the moment they hit submit to when you're kind of working on their case?
We try to make sure that things are screened and get to an investigator within 3 business days.
Oh, wow.
We used to be much longer than that. I have some really great people. We audit our processes to make them better constantly. And that's one of the things that we did last summer, and it's been very successful. So it could have been like 1 to 2 weeks if you would have asked me 2 years ago. Now, if it's 5 business days, it's because we got some crazy influx. But it's probably going to be within 3. You will know, because we have to screen them for our jurisdiction, whether we think there is actually a claim there, a violation that we can handle. You will know if it's been assigned to an investigator, which means that we are taking the claim, or closed out, meaning we're not taking the claim.
Okay, that's good to know. And then you made a comment that kind of made me think. You said that you would enforce an agreed upon wage. So obviously in the unions, we have our contracts. The wage is the wage. Everyone knows what it is. Some of our guys will make a little more maybe, depending on if the employer wants to keep them. But in the non-union sector, if an employer hires, a non-union rod buster and says, hey, we're going to pay you $23 an hour. And then can they now 2 or 3 weeks later be like, you know what, you're not performing. It's going to go down to 17. Do they have a claim?
Yes, you can't do that. You cannot reduce somebody's wages without, authorization between them.
Okay.
And you certainly cannot unilaterally say, I told you I was going to pay you 23, but now I'm going to pay you 17.
Yeah. And so what we see a lot in the construction is, this is what I'm going to pay you, and if you don't like it, I'm going to lay you off because you could get laid off without recourse. So that's where a lot of the fear comes. And then they're like, yeah, I guess I'll agree because you have no fucking choice. You know what I mean? This is what you're going to get paid or leave. And oftentimes I'll tell workers, union and non-union, like, know your fucking worth, bro. Know your worth. They will pay. Their job is to maximize profit as much as possible. And if that means that paying you less is going to maximize their profit, that's what they're going to do. You don't have to accept that. And if everyone took the same stance, which is highly unlikely, but if everyone said, no, we're not working for less than X, even as a non-union worker, you set your own minimum wage because they won't hire anybody who's going to work for $12 an hour punking rebar all day, So trying to educate them, even some people are like, I hate the union. That's fine. You should still know your worth. You should still not work for less than X,
And it's not, that's not just the construction industry. We have a few industry-wide investigations right now. I won't say who, which industries, but where there are allegations where it's there's a mechanism for the employee to make some sort of side cash during the employment, and potentially something is occurring where they are then giving all of their wages back to the employer.
Yeah.
I
I know exactly what you're talking about. I don't know your exact case, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's
Yes.
across. It's
Yes.
not limited to an industry. We've
Yeah.
heard the allegation across industries, which is like I could give you 3 different examples of what we've heard. Problem is, and you know this, we have a really hard time getting the actual worker in the room to give the testimony and say what happened. And without somebody saying what happened, and I don't need him to then have documentation and like here was it in writing where this happened. I need a firsthand account of what happened. And it's hard to get that on the construction side, especially because you usually have a deal where you're still getting paid a lot more than $12 an hour, $20 an hour. So when we're trying to enforce an $85, $90 an hour wage, and this guy's getting $50, and he's maybe even getting it in cash or something, I think they do have a hard time seeing the value of coming in to talk to me about how that mechanism works, because the likelihood is I'm going to get in between that.
Yeah, there's a lot of when I was on the organizing side of things before, there's a lot of workers that get paid cash and they're just happy because they're like, I don't get taxed, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you're still losing. You're still fucking losing. You know what I mean? And it's sad to see, to your point, and they're scared. They're scared to come in and work. And me and Daniel talk about this often, where it's like you have these guys who pride themselves on being men and being macho and being all these things. But it's like, bro, you're not less than because you go fucking file a report or because you're asking for what's owed to you. This is what's owed to you. Like, all you're doing is holding them accountable, and it's okay. And they won't fucking do it. They even if it's because then they get labeled a snitch or they get labeled whatever. And I'm like, dude, it is a culture thing in construction that we're trying to change, right? Same with the mental health stuff and all that. Like, we're trying to shift a culture and like basically turn a tide, and that is not easy. But the more people that we can get to stand up and fight against, the easier it starts to become. Because then it just becomes like a trickle down effect almost, you know? One of the big things, one of the things I just found out, I believe it's NRS 600A, which is like, what is it called? We were talking about it right now at breakfast.
Trade secret?
Yeah, trade secrets. This is a fucking thing. Have you ever, is that yours?
No.
Do you deal with that? Who deals with that stuff?
With like the protection of trade secrets?
Yeah. Like you let an employee go and then go, oh, here's the trade secrets. You can't, that's not you?
That's hard to prove, right? Kind of like defamation or something.
Well, and generally, like when you're talking about intellectual property,
yeah, that's different.
Generally a federal jurisdiction. I'd have to look at the specific chapter you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it probably says in there who is the agency responsible for enforcing it. And wouldn't it be funny if it's me? Because that's
no. And if it
we'll
is,
cut
and
it
you
from the
find
podcast.
Cut. Like, it's all good. Yeah.
Found out live.
Yeah. Minute 33, 38. No.
But yeah, there's a lot of like intellectual property questions and to your point about like, what does it mean to protect yourself? What does it mean to like have your house in order?
Yeah.
It means using every avenue that the other guy would use, which includes legal protection.
Yeah.
And like not a game, but it's a little chess, like, right? This stuff that we do, it's very long term. You go through me, and then if you're not happy with me, you go to the Supreme Court probably. Yeah. And that takes years. So everyone's playing the long game, and you're right. If you don't fight back, they know they can win. Yeah. And it's a big arena to let them win. A big arena. Because it's really the systems that run us, right? That we work under. Yes. You're talking about a whole chapter of law, like who enforces this stuff and where are they doing it and what does that look like? But you can bet that the people that they enforce it over know
Oh, yeah.
and talk to those people and have regular interactions with them. And so, yeah, so I think, again, to your point, protecting yourself means also knowing the game that your opponent plays in, even if it's not, employers and employees, that's not an opponent situation until you get to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Now now you're opponents.
Yes.
Yep.
But what I always tell my people is like, this is a team, not a family, right? Like, you have a use here.
It's a fact. Yes.
If you don't have a use, you're not going to be on the team.
Yes.
Right.
Your job's never going to love you back.
I love that.
You can always put somebody else in the place. So play the game, right?
Yeah.
Like, get your ass in the game.
Yeah.
That's usually the first sign I tell people that, a contractor or an employer is full of shit when he's like, we're all family here. Eat your pizza. Like, fuck
Right.
you. You're not family to these people. They say that to get you to let down your guard, to trust, to feel a part of. And then you get a pizza and a jacket with the company's name on it. And you think you owe this guy something or this girl something. And it's like, you got what was owed to you. You got your paycheck. You owe them nothing else. All this other loyalty and everything is fucking bullshit. And I tell them, the union has been here longer than any contractor in town, right? The unions have been here and they've had your back and everyone before you's back. They've been here longer than any contractor in town. So like, give your loyalty to the people who have been here for you longer, not somebody who's making you fucking walk around like a billboard with their company logo on your back. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
What with the legislative process, you talked about the whole chapter. How involved are you with changes to that chapter, and are you allowed to have an opinion on good or bad policy?
Yes.
Okay.
To answer backwards. So the director of business and industry and I have a really good working relationship. I try to do as good a job as I can to keep him informed as to what's going on, in my arena, what potential problems we might have come up. We've built a good trust between us. And to that end, I think I get a lot more than maybe when I first started, a lot more freedom to discuss and get involved in the policy part, especially because what I've screamed from the rooftop since I got here is we are the people that have to enforce it.
Right.
So please check with me that all the words in here that what you think you're doing is what I think the words are doing, because I'm the one that the law says has to say what the words are doing.
Right.
And if you don't involve me in the process, I can't argue intent because I wasn't there
Right.
for the intent part. And I can only work with the words that are on the page. So, yes. And I think there was a big improvement for me personally in that between my first session where I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
I knew nothing.
We learned together.
Yeah.
We learned together in 23, right? That was
I was just like wandering
Yeah.
around the building, like, I hope somebody says hi to me.
yeah. The next thing you know, everybody's like,
What do I do with my hands?
yeah. It's tough. Yes.
Well, I mean, it's got to be tough just because you're kind of in a position to enforce, what's in there. And you try to be fair, and you have competing, ideas on every bill there is. It doesn't matter what the bill is, there's competing ideas. And so it kind of puts you in the middle. So I was just curious, like, how you navigate trying to do the right thing while also trying to be as neutral and fair as possible with the
And before
process.
you answer that, I mean, kudos to you, right? You got hired on by the Sisolak administration, and then you stuck around through Lombardo's administration. So, like, to me, I've always said this and you and I've talked like on public platforms, private, and it's like, man, I've always been super impressed with anybody who could stay and make it through two different governors from, opposite parties. So, I mean, that just is testament to you that I believe that you always do what's best for Nevada,
I make everyone mad at some point, right? Like, and I think I am extremely unbiased. At least I can, and I'm probably being biased about myself, but about this area of law, right?
Yeah.
I've never done advocacy for either side. I can be completely neutral. They don't teach you wage and hour law and construction law in law school. I've never read, I didn't ever develop an argument one way or the other. And I so much see the benefit when we can help people, and that is so motivating for me. When I watch our numbers go up, when we like focus on this and we can see it in the data, or it plays out how we wanted it to. That is a very cool thing I get to do. And I work for an executive branch agency, and I have to be cognizant of any governor's, objectives and wishes, but neither governor has ever meddled in my world that I've worked under. And both have been extremely gracious about what I do and to me. Governor Lombardo will joke about how everyone's always mad at me.
Yeah. They are.
So, and I think it's probably a good thing that I've made everyone mad. And I've at the same time, like, I've agreed with everyone at some point too in the making everybody mad, right? So everyone's been happy and everyone's been mad, and I think they can see the balance that I'm really just trying to make it as clear as possible, as predictable as possible. I just want people to get their money and be able to feed their families and do what they need to do. And the more I can do that in my state, my home, the better.
So I'm going to ask a question that I'm pretty sure you have the answer to. When it comes, we just celebrated, I think, was it our third or fourth Women's Build Vegas night, right? And one of the stats we got was that I think in the last 4 years, women in the trades has almost doubled in Nevada, right? And I'm not saying that's because of me and because I advocate hard for women in the trades. But I think I do, right? Like I've always tried to highlight that heavy for women in the trade specifically, and trying to come up with new ideas and ways to do outreach and all these things, right? And provide protections. Is that number realistic?
Absolutely, I think it is. And we've also done a lot of pushing in trying to increase female apprenticeship numbers too, because the pathway into the trades.
Right.
And we are in a moment, I feel like, and I felt maybe it's because that's when I came into this world, but college is too expensive. You have colleges on the East Coast that are charging six figures a year, like that hit, over $100,000 a year. And people come out of these with skills that they've taught robots how to do. But you can't teach a robot to wire something. You can't, unless you teach the robot who then teaches a robot. But you're always going to have a human there doing the initial wiring, right? Or you can't. The trades are pretty AI proof. And I think that combined with where we already were with the cost of education, it couldn't be a more favorable environment to, start a career, make a career change.
Right.
Probably not, because you're not a 40-year-old woman. But if you've ever read The Cut, which is a magazine aimed at women, they just did an article about the increase in women in the trades, women who left their office jobs to become plumbers. They're now, going to Disneyland every year. They bought a house. These are not get-by jobs.
Yes.
These are live jobs.
Right.
We deserve to live.
Yes.
Not just pay our bills and wake up and do it again. And so women are so well equipped for this stuff. There are so many, whenever I go to the apprenticeship graduations, there's usually a woman who's getting all the awards.
Yeah.
They're like the standout of the class. They are so passionate about whether it be, electricity or plumbing or whatever. I think there's such an opportunity. And for so long, too, it was kind of like all the trades were word of mouth. Your buddy got you into it. I even remember, I grew up in Boulder City, and a high school, like the boys that were just out of high school, they would go and do construction jobs almost immediately because we were building all those houses in Nevada in the early 2000s. And it was always just like a guy knew a guy, and that's how everyone got into it. The more women that get into it, the same thing's going to happen. The more often there's an article in some publication like The Cut about, what we talked about the glazier rates a few weeks ago, and I mean you can make $87 being a glazier in Southern Nevada, an hour on a public works project. There are many rates that are in the 90s. I think there are some electrician rates in the hundreds. And those are starting the elevator.
Elevator
Oh my
constructors,
gosh,
yeah.
the elevator constructors.
Like 120 or something.
We're trying to get the deputy's daughter into one of those programs.
Yeah.
But I think it's incredible. And my daughter's 7, and she loves to make things. And she already talks about how she wants to learn how to build stuff, how she wants to, and it's big things, it's little things, it's things with wood, it's things with paper, it's glue. And I think she would love building so bad. I can't wait till she's old enough to bring her to one of the sites where she can like play on all the toys that you guys have.
Yeah. Edon has done a really good job at doing he'll do like the apprenticeship showcase, right? He's done a couple of those, and he does a great job. And some people are like, hey, we want to take our, the students to a job site. Well, there's a lot of insurance liabilities that come with that, dude. There's so much moving pieces and parts, and job sites are pretty, for people who don't work on them every day, it's a scary place to visit when it's in motion. And sometimes it's hard to get people to go after work, right? So Edon has done a really good job. And I told him, like, hey, bro, I don't want you spending too much time on this anymore. And because some people view it as a recruiting tool. And I'm like, we're not there to recruit. We're there to showcase what's available to people. And so he has done a great job in a controlled environment, showcasing different mock-ups and things. So they do it at the Ironworkers or wherever they have the apprenticeship showcase at. But that'd be a good place to bring her if she was interested.
I love the welding machine.
The virtual?
Yeah.
Yeah, the virtual welding machine. Yeah. We're trying to push a lot of these other things. Like you were talking about AI taking over. It's helpful with the training. They have like Oculuses where you can get certified on scissor lift and boom lift. And there's these machines now you stand on so that you don't have to have a ton of room. And you could take it to places like the High Desert Prison, right, with our MC3 program. High Desert's a correctional facility here in Southern Nevada where they have maximum security, minimum security. And so obviously you can't have a bunch of crazy equipment out there. So virtual welding machines, the Oculuses like I was talking about. So AI is helpful in some certificates, right? But nothing's going to be real hands-on lived experience.
Well, exactly that. It's an industry where it can assist. It can be a real tool, but you're not trying, like, people keep trying to teach it how to read or write a brief, right?
Correct.
And it creates legal citations that don't exist, and it creates cases that never happened. And
that's what a lot of people say.
Right. And so it's good to hear that when it's used appropriately, great.
Yeah.
When it is used as an assistant or an assistance to learning, so great. But like you said, you can't send the robot out to the actual site to do the work.
And when you were talking about like the wages that we make, right, and what the prevailing wage is, and I said it all the time, like you're not going to get rich being in the trades. Like you're not going to buy a yacht, right? But you can buy a home, have a jet ski, maybe have a boat, go on vacation once a year, and that's all I ever wanted as a kid.
Right. I get exactly what you mean.
Yeah, like, it's the American dream, and it should be open to everybody, and that's what we're about. And the unions and our goal, right, and our mission really closely aligns with what your office does. And so, real quick, I know we're probably getting close to running out of time, but what kind of let me know like your relationship with the unions and how they assist you in your job, and if there's anything unions can do better that maybe we're hindering parts of your job.
I find you guys very helpful, as you know. Like you're always available. You have resources for us that we don't have. You have full compliance teams that we don't have. You're also really good about like being told no. I feel like the relationship, we work together, and you guys at the very least can see where I'm coming from, and you understand that I am not an advocate, so we work together. I'm hoping that with AB 502 and building out the public works compliance team and having an avenue for public bodies to refer claims that they can't investigate themselves, it can give the union compliance groups more opportunity to focus on like bigger, better claims as opposed to like maybe the smaller ones
Right.
can go. Because if the public bodies are, well, one, if they're seeing their own smaller ones, then that can be a fix without ever getting me involved. You just tell the contractor you're not paying enough. They pay
Right.
more. We're done here. But I think when we've got big projects that haven't been properly set up, are not being properly called a public works project, or there's, you know,
That is a big deal.
those are the
Fuck,
ones.
It's a big deal.
Those are the ones that that the help is extra helpful.
Yeah.
So I would say focus on the bigger ones to the extent that if you guys have resource. But
And
you
that's
guys
what
don't have resource issues.
No, and that's what I try to explain to some
Right.
of the organizers is build a case. Quit throwing spitballs and just every little thing. It's like, oh, look, he put a paintbrush on top of his Cybertruck. Like, who cares? Like,
Don't.
what?
Dude, that was a fucking dig right at me. Fuck that guy and fuck his Cybertruck and his stupid fucking paintbrush.
Was he painting?
It's unforgettable Codians, Corey Summerhays. We'll call him out.
Yeah.
He's a. Oh, yeah.
Oh, this is your DOL one.
Yeah. And so after the big claim, he has to pay $3.5 million of unpaid, of stolen wages to his workers. The guy goes out and buys a Cybertruck and puts a giant fucking paint roller on it. Because he's just got the money. Like, it doesn't matter,
Oh,
That's why I want him in jail. That's why I think he should go to jail. He stole $3.5 million.
I like to wake Daniel up in the morning with
Yeah,
stuff like
it's some
this.
bullshit. Next thing you're going to bring up Warren fucking Hardy. Well, let's ask you, who's the biggest piece of shit employer in the state of Nevada?
Fuck yeah, there you go.
Name them.
Yeah, come on.
said name 'em.
Yeah, let's get him
my
out there, these
goodness.
fucking guys.
We don't do that.
Sorry. He's trying to get me canceled.
No, I'm not trying to do anything. Well, I think that was a good way to end the podcast.
And the biggest piece of shit employer in Nevada is.
Drum roll, please.
And that's when you cut
Oh,
it.
that's where we're done? Oh. There's one. You got one. You know who they are.
We'll talk
I would
about it
never make you
offline.
say it.
No, and you can't make her do anything.
I can't.
She's the boss.
That's a fact.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you. This was very educational.
Yes, I loved it. It was great.
I think
Great
we're going to get a
episode.
lot of good clips out of it, reels, if you will.
Good. Nice.
Yeah. Well-
You guys on TikTok?
Daniel is. He's famous.
You are?
Kinda.
Oh, now I'm going to find you.
Yeah.
But then
search
you'll
me
find me. Oh, no.
Are you on TikTok?
Yeah, but not like, I'm not doing anything interesting.
You're not posting content?
Well, I've like not with any regularity.
Okay. Yeah, check me out.
Like, here's a cute hike I did with some waterfalls.
That's cool.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Yep, thank you.
Check us out.
Bye.
Later.
Bye.